At the beginning of this story, we are shown a dark forest where a child is running, either out of fear or to escape from someone. The scene cuts, and we see a red bus driving through the same forest, along a road. Shortly after, the bus encounters a blocked path due to a fallen tree, forcing it to take an alternate route, unaware of the dangers ahead. Along the way, we see some skeletons, and further down the road, all the trees have suddenly disappeared. Suddenly, an eerie sound surrounds them. The children in the bus, frightened, look out onto the road because the driver suddenly had to stop. When he got out to check, he found a dead deer in front of the bus. As he moved it aside and turned around, he was shocked. The next minute, when he re-entered the bus, we saw a man behind him, holding the driver at gunpoint. The man threatened the children to stay seated, and they complied. At that moment, one of the children remembered seeing this man in the news. He was a serial killer who had escaped from prison just a few days ago. Even more terrifying, this man only targeted teenagers. You could say he was a psychopath. Following his orders, the passengers threw their phones out the window, and the driver continued on the road. As they drove, the driver missed a signboard warning that they were entering a deserted area, where research was once conducted, but no humans had lived for years. It was a tunnel filled with bright lights, and as they entered, the bus suddenly stopped, and they realized that the bus engine had failed. The psychopath killer thought the driver was playing a trick on him, so he grabbed the little girl at gunpoint and ordered the driver to get out and fix the bus right in front of him. He warned that if anyone tried to scream, he would kill the girl. Just then, the lights in the tunnel suddenly went out, and everyone panicked. In the pitch-dark tunnel, they began to hear terrifying sounds. The killer signaled the driver to go and check what was happening. The driver, holding a flashlight, walked forward, and as he ventured deeper into the darkness, a shadowy figure appeared in front of him. As he got closer, he realized it was a horrifying monster. The driver screamed in terror, and the monster grabbed him by the chest and killed him. The people inside the bus witnessed everything, and the killer quickly rushed back into the bus with the girl. Everyone started screaming, but the killer ordered them to stay quiet so the monster wouldn't see or hear them. He frantically tried to start the bus, but the key was still with the driver, who had just been killed by the monster. The killer instructed the children to retrieve the key from the driver's body. One of the girls, trembling with fear, cautiously approached the driver. When she reached him, she was shocked to see that he was dead. Overcome with disbelief, tears filled her eyes, but there was no time to cry. She carefully took the key from his hand and returned to the bus. Even after sitting back down, she was visibly shaken. When the other children asked about the driver, she simply shook her head, indicating he was no longer alive. Hearing this, the children were devastated. The killer then ordered a boy named Baji to start the bus, but the bus was still broken down. How could it start? The killer threatened him. "If you don't start the bus, I'll kill everyone here," the killer threatened. However, one of the boys, Gil, who was the bravest of them all, didn't get scared. Instead, he started arguing with the killer. Seizing the opportunity, another boy pushed the killer from behind. As he fell, Gil quickly grabbed the gun from his hand and pointed it at him. Seeing this, the killer began to laugh and said, "You can't kill me. It takes a lot of courage to kill someone, and you don't have it." Before Gil could do anything, they suddenly heard a noise from the roof of the bus, which distracted everyone. Taking advantage of the distraction, the killer snatched the gun back. Meanwhile, the sounds from the roof grew louder, scaring all the children. Furious, the killer stepped out of the bus, yelling, "Whatever is out there, come face me!" As he kept shouting, his voice abruptly stopped. A strange, fear-filled smile appeared on his face, and suddenly, something attacked him. The attacker decapitated him in one swift move. The children inside the bus were in complete shock as they saw the killer's head in the hand of a terrifying creature. The monster had long tentacles, which it had pierced into the man's head. The children didn't know what to do. In their panic, they decided to stay inside the bus, thinking it was safer. But soon, they began to hear strange noises from outside. The bus door creaked open with a loud, eerie sound, and they saw the huge hands of the monster reaching over the seats. The creature had entered the bus, and in a desperate attempt to escape, the children rushed toward the other door, but it wouldn't open. They had a flashlight in their hand, and by mistake, its beam illuminated the monster. As they shone the light toward the monster, they noticed that it was afraid of the light. Taking advantage of this, they kept the monster at bay by directing the light at it. During this time, the bus door finally opened, and they hurried out, keeping the light on the monster as they ran. They eventually reached a bunker. Inside the bunker, they found a room with a map of the entire area. After studying it, they realized that they were in a military base. If it was a military base, there had to be a power source and perhaps a control panel to turn on the lights. If they wanted to survive and keep the monster away, they had to find and activate the control panel to power up the lights, which would help them escape. They decided to search for the control panel, forming a plan using the map to guess where it might be located. Nolan and his partner went to look for the power source, while the others stayed back, trying to pass the time in the strange circumstances. After a while, one of the girls, Quinny, said she needed to go to the bathroom, but was too scared to go alone. So, Rozzy went with her. As they walked, Rozzy kept chatting, but Quinny didn't respond. After a while, Rozzy noticed that Quinny hadn't turned around or answered him. Suspicious, he finally looked back, only to find that Quinny was no longer there. Panic set in as he began shouting and frantically searching for her. His friends soon realized that Quinny was missing, and they all began searching the entire area. Eventually, they found her, but to their horror, a terrifying monster was hovering over her. The monster was about to slice Quinny's neck and devour her. Quinny was nearly unconscious from fear. At that moment, Rozzy distracted the monster by flashing a fire at it, while his other friend managed to pull Quinny out from under the creature. Quinny and her rescuer quickly ran forward, assuming that Rozzy was right behind them. However, Rozzy had fallen behind because the flare had slipped from her hand, fallen into the water, and extinguished. The monster was just about to attack her, and strange, slimy substances began dripping from its mouth onto Rozzy's face. It was blood. When Quinny and her friend finally looked back and saw Rozzy, they were horrified. There was nothing they could do to save her. Just before the monster could consume Rozzy, the lights suddenly came on, causing the monster to flee in fear. The group realized that their friends must have found the generator. Meanwhile, Nolan and his companion, who had located and activated the generator, discovered a room nearby with a dead body inside. The room was filled with pictures and notes, all detailing information about the creature. It seemed that someone had conducted extensive research on the monster, but ultimately failed to kill it. However, reading the notes wasn't their priority. Their main goal was to escape, so they decided to leave quickly in a police car. As they turned to leave, they saw a strange shadow in the distance, which made them freeze in fear, thinking it might be the monster. But to their relief, it was their three friends approaching. They were momentarily overjoyed, but the happiness was short-lived. As they got closer, they noticed a deep wound on Quinny's neck, a serious injury that went deep into her flesh. Blood was oozing out. It happened due to the monster's bite. It was possible that now Quinny might get infected and turn into that monster. Misei says, maybe we shouldn't keep Quinny with us, but they don't do that. They keep Quinny wondering what will happen to her. To get more information about this, they go back to the same room where they had previously found many notes about the monster. Among the many notes lying there, they pick up a notebook and begin reading it. It tells the story of a boy who loved exploring new places with his sister. While exploring one day, they reached a military base. The boy, named Valor Call, had written the story. He stayed behind, intently studying the map of the place, while his sister moved ahead. Suddenly, she froze in shock as she saw something strange inside the tunnel. The boy, who was behind her, looked towards her, but by then it was too late. Screams and cries echoed from inside the tunnel, which scared him. Instead of going in to save his sister, he ran towards the forest, trying to save his own life. This is the same scene we saw at the start of the movie. At that moment, the boy managed to escape, but the incident stayed in his mind. He always felt that his sister died because of his negligence, and he wanted revenge against the creature that killed her. Years passed, but he couldn't forget anything. He researched everything about the monster, gathered all the information, and even built a machine to kill it. But before he could use it, the monster, unfortunately, attacked him. They found out that he had killed the monster and discovered from his notes that the monster would always kill anyone it attacked or whose blood it tasted. Now, Quinny was in great danger. They decided that they would fight to save Quinny. They would complete the work the man had started, finish his machine, and kill the monster. However, Quinny objected, saying that no one should risk their lives because of her. But her friends, being good people, insisted, "No, we will all survive and make it out of here alive." With that thought, they all hugged each other and began working together on their plan. After a short period of hard work, They successfully completed the machine that the man had started. It was now fully operational, and they were thrilled to see it working. But the main task still remained, luring the monster in front of the machine. To do this, they set a trap, placing blood-soaked clothes in an open area to attract the creature while it was asleep. They also positioned Quinny a short distance away to ensure the monster came to the right spot, and they planned to switch on the light to kill it. According to their plan, the monster appeared. Smelling the scent, it approached and picked up Quinny's clothes, but it realized that it wasn't actually Quinny. At the same moment, Nowlet was supposed to pull the trigger, but unfortunately, the trigger got stuck. The monster began searching for Quinny and headed towards her. Just before it could attack her, they managed to activate the machine, and a lot of light shone on the monster, forcing it to let go of Quinny. Quinny and her friends quickly ran out of the tunnel, narrowly escaping. The monster was stabbed in the stomach, but unfortunately, it had no effect on the creature. Now the only option left for them was to save their lives and escape. They grabbed their torches and started running towards the exit, but the monster was chasing them. The two girls managed to escape through the tunnel and breathed a sigh of relief as they stepped outside. However, when they looked back, they realized their friends hadn't come out yet, and the monster was now standing in front of them. Terrified, they began to shake, but the monster didn't come outside because of the light. Meanwhile, we see the three boys who had come close to the monster. From behind, they set it on fire and escaped from the tunnel. The monster was engulfed in flames, and finally, their plan succeeded. They had killed the monster, saving not only their own lives, but also eliminating the threat for anyone else who might come there in the future. They were very happy. In the final scene, the kids remember their driver, who had given them a riddle. What is the one thing that helps us overcome every difficulty? At the time, they hadn't known the answer, but now they understood. It was courage. The driver, even in his final moments, had taught them a valuable lesson that would help them in life. And with this realization, the story comes to an end.